So we know in Western medicine that this idea of central sensitization is not new. It's not new. It just seems to be finally talked about a lot more within conferences and within various medical circles. But in Western medicine, Descartes described this almost 400 years ago. 400 years ago. So why is it that we're just in the last 5 years or last couple of years really, even 5 years ago, the show of hands would have been 10% or 20%. Why are we seeing this in the last couple of years? Well, I think we're finally seeing this because of some of the changes that we've seen within the pain management world, all for good and bad. But he described this. He said, when something hurts in that foot, we see this sort of, he drew this diagram, hey, I think the brain is processing this. And of course it is. I mean, it's a pretty simple statement. So what happens in central sensitization? Well, simplistically, what is happening is that memories are being formed. Okay, those are memories, both emotional memories as well as memories where you have neurons actually remembering the pathology, remembering the trauma, remembering the event, and then cementing that event as persistent. And that's what's actually occurring. And that occurs, we think, mainly due to this NMDA activation. NMDA is the N-methyl D-aspartic acid receptor, and it's a receptor that can act as in the neural system as something that maintains homeostasis. So too much NMDA receptor activity, and we start seeing this wound up phenomenon. We start seeing this hyperexcitatory phenomenon. Too little NMDA, and we start seeing neural degradation. So it's not like NMDA is a bad thing. I mean, we need it for normal neural function and homeostasis. That's what sort of maintains, how we are doing and how we're feeling. But sometimes it gets stuck in that on position. And that's where we start seeing the sort of sensitization and this wind up in this hyperexcitatory state. It operates after some type of noxious stimuli, so it could be a real traumatic event. It could be a peripheral inflammatory event. It could be some type of nerve injury, both peripherally as well as centrally. And again, all of these events, your brain's going to remember it, it's going to process it, and it's going to try to defend itself against that event in the future. And that is the bulk of what this sensitization is. It's a defense mechanism that sometimes goes into overdrive. So there are many features of central sensitization, but they all are similar to memories. Okay, so they're all similar to this pathway of how we form memories. Now, what are some of the mechanisms of central sensitization? There are sort of 5, basic categories that we've kind of defined central sensitization as being subject to. Number 1, this NMDA receptor activation, which we just discussed. Number 2, altered gene expression in the dorsal horn neurons. Altered gene expression. So we actually are seeing that genes are not being expressed the way that they would normally be expressed. Number 3, we're seeing decreased inhibition, which we'll go over in a minute. Number 4, microglial activation. So it's the microglial activation in the central nervous system and spinal cord. Creates a pro-inflammatory condition, which again backdrops into this memory formation. And number 5, thalamic and somatosensory cortex changes. Actual changes that we can see, both organically as well as through imaging and through functional MRIs, where we actually see the entire neural structure changing. So for those that doubt it, and they're like, well, I can't see it, well, we have evidence to show that you can actually see these changes.